Friday morning in New York City. What is up? It is the Boomer and Geo program on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. The number to call, 888-808-1019. We have got a lot to do. The guys are off. Myself, Willie Colon with you until 10 o'clock. Sure, we'll get to the Mets and losing to the Marlins and playing lousy in the meantime and doing it. Yeah, we'll get to another win for the Yankees. At some point later on, we will discuss the baseball. But, you know, I was on the air with Greg Giannotti in Arizona when the Nets traded Kyrie Irving. Boomer was sick as he was vomiting all morning and all night. Ooh. And that was an interesting morning. And as I was laying down last night, the news came out. Now, yesterday, Willie, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
I did say where there's smoke, there's fire, as we were discussing
Jerry,
the Micah Parsons situation.
You're the first person I thought about. I was like, Jerry wasn't lying.
Now, I never thought that this was going to happen. I ultimately thought that, as the Cowboys have in the past, they would get to the final hour and they would pay Micah Parsons not $188 million over 4 years, but I did think that he would get his contract ultimately. I thought there was a chance he might sit out next Thursday, maybe then sign. You can go back with Emmitt Smith. You can talk about Dak Prescott signing on, I think it was the day or the day before the opener last year. You can talk about CeeDee Lamb getting his money. All these guys getting their money. Well, in Micah's case, that did not happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have been a lifelong Cowboy fan. I have worked for Compass Media Networks for, this will be my 15th or 16th year, I don't even know, where I have worked almost every Cowboy game for that period, whether as the pregame, postgame host, or even I've had the privilege to call, I think, 9 games over the last 4 years as well. This is not going to be the usual take. I'm not annoyed at this, and I'm going to lay out my reasons why, and I think we're in agreement. Would I have loved Micah Parsons to stay in Dallas for his entire career? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? But when you attach the money and the salary cap to it, and a couple of things I'd like to run, if you will allow me. I'd like to run a couple of things through you. I know he's 26 and hopefully getting better, but this is what I know from what I've seen, and these are the days that I have said, what the hell, all right? I'm going to give you 2021, a very young Micah Parsons, but making a big name for himself. They play the Niners in the playoffs. 0 sacks, 1 tackle for a loss, 0 quarterback pressures. 2022, they beat a bad Bucs team, whatever. Then they play in San Francisco. He played every defensive snap. They lost that game.
I remember that. Yep.
He had 0 sacks, 0 tackles for a loss, 1 quarterback pressure. 2023, they were a damn good football team. They lose to the Packers and lose big. 0 sacks, 0 tackles for a loss, 1 quarterback pressure, and Green Bay rolled up 415 yards of offense and led 27-0 in the second quarter. 2024, it comes back after injury, was supposed to be the savior. You know, Dak Prescott was injured, but he's going to lead them out. His first game, he played about half the snaps. All right, they get beaten by the Eagles, fine. The next week, a home game against the Texans. He played 96% of the snaps. They lost 34-10. He had 1 tackle, 0 sacks, 0 quarterback pressures. I'm not saying he's not a great player. We know he's a great player. And I know in Dallas they're losing their minds over this, and I don't blame them. I get it. But if you're going to pay somebody $47 million a year, quarterback money, in big spots, you got to come up big, and he has not done that.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement to some degree. I've watched Micah Parsons for a good part of his career, just mostly like you. I think that if you're a Cowboys fan like yourself or most people out there, you're just frustrated. I think if you should be frustrated with the return. Like Kenny Clark, who they received in the 2 first-rounders, Kenny Clark's best days are behind him, right? He's a 30-year-old guy who, in his prime, he was a bad man. Right now, if you're Jerry Jones and you're saying you needed to stop the run, I don't know if that's the guy to kind of fill that void. Nevertheless, Micah Parsons, man, I thought Jerry handled this bad because a lot of what he wanted should have been handled a year ago. For me,
I agree.
I think that a lot of what, as far as being cheaper, this should have happened a year ago.
Yeah. Well, people said, too, as this went on, it was becoming more and more expensive.
It was.
Yeah.
And so but I also go back to, man, when Dan Quinn was coordinator, and I remember that San Francisco game when they got beat up bad.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very bad. And I remember part of watching that game was they would double team Mike and then neutralize them. And they were going right at him. And that's one way to neutralize a pass rusher is just double team him. And you see him at times get caught up in the wash in the run game. Like I remember at one point, Dan Quinn tried to put him at middle linebacker to see if he could be more effective, and he couldn't get busy. So I don't know. I'm not crazy about. Like, I'm not crazy about the trade. To your point, if you're a Cowboys fan, he's an elite pass rusher, top 3 easily.
Sure.
But I also watch T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett, who I think are ahead of him, and they get triple teamed, they get double teamed, and they're still effective.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the world is like, what's going on right now? But if you're Jerry, he never does things like the traditional way. He does it Jerry's way, and so it's tough, man. I don't know about it. I think Green Bay, there's no excuses for them now.
That's the biggest thing for me is if you want to say there's one thing that really bothers me about this, it's where they sent him.
Yeah.
That's
Conference.
Why we and then he's coming back week 4 in prime time.
Yep.
Again, the NFL's like the NBA. It's like a soap opera. Of course they're coming back week 4 where they're going to see him and he's going to be fired up and he'll probably have 7 sacks in that game and the Packers might win the Super Bowl. Why? It's the one thing with these guys, and I know you're one of them as a former player.
Sure.
I hate when they get what they want, though, because and here's why. You put your pen to paper, you signed a contract. You had a year left on your contract, and I want to be paid more. $25 million wasn't enough. Fine, fair enough. You want to do that. They didn't fine him all summer.
They didn't.
Or all training camp. I think they thought they were going to figure this out at some point. It became very apparent that they weren't. So they let him sit there with the cockamamie injury, not partake,
back tightness.
Of course, not practice. And I do believe that they feel like they had a deal done in March. Where the disconnect was with the agent, I have no idea. Neither one of us was in the room. We don't know what the problem was there. But you couldn't have sent him to Jacksonville? Send him somewhere other than in the conference to a good team. That's my biggest hang up with this.
And I'm with you because I don't. This is what frustrates you about Jerry. I remember after they got beat up by the Packers in that first round of the playoffs. I think 2023. Where Green
beat
Bay,
up. They were losing 27-0 in the second quarter.
It was nuts. And I remember Jerry at the end of that game looking like broken
because they were defenseless.
Right. And so for me to sit here and like I'm scratching my head like, Jerry, I remember that press conference. I remember you couldn't barely talk. You were so beat. You was flushed red with anger because you thought this Cowboys team was going to the Super Bowl that year.
They were good.
And Green Bay and Jordan Love and company absolutely stomped all over you. And so how do you not treat him to the Detroit Lions, who needs a pass rusher, and Aiden Hutchinson's coming off of ACL? How do you not trade him to the Rams? How do you not even trade him to anywhere else but the Packers? Why? Because you're going to see the Packers. Either in a wild card position or if you guys both win your division, you're going to see them in the division round. So I don't know, man. It's just tough to. If you're a Cowboys fan, you got to be scratching your head at this one.
A little bit, but again, to me, the reason why it doesn't burn me as much is the money. It's the salary cap. This era we're playing in. You've got, Dak Prescott, which to me is nuts too.
Well, I think part of the money is because he's 26 years old.
I get that.
50, but
you can't pay. So if that's the case,
but he hasn't had any significant injury to like hamper him. Like I just talked about Aiden Hutchinson coming off of ACL. The worst Mike has had is a high ankle sprain.
For sure. But if you're going to pay Dak Prescott $60 million, you're going to give a defensive guy $47 million. CeeDee Lamb's making a lot of money. And by the way, the salary cap is such nonsense.
Yeah.
It is garbage. What are we doing? The salary cap is $280 million for 53 guys. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's 53 guys got to split 200. Meantime, I look at the Packers. Jordan Love's making $220 million, 55 a season, but 55 doesn't really count against the cap because we're going to spread it out over the next 100 years, which is stupid. You got Rashawn Gary's making $100 million. Yep. That's 25 a year, unless I check. But they'll spread that away, and his cap it'll be like 11. It's so fake and phony. It's just like a numbers game. But it's very prohibitive if you're going to pay, in my opinion, to pay someone quarterback money that has, while he has been a great player, I'm not downplaying what he was.
I don't think anybody is. I think some people are split on it because if you watch the game, is he effective in the rush?
No.
No. He's just not.
In the big games, we kill Aaron Judge for being a postseason zero. Mm-hmm. Is that not a talking point all the time here? Well, I'll give you his equivalent for the Cowboys. He's done nothing in the playoff. Nothing.
I think for some people too. I think as much as they are heartbroken about this, they need to turn on the tape like we've watched the tape, and go back and watch Micah Parsons' production. Like, yes, against bad teams, he's a juggernaut. Against really good teams like the Niners and Detroit Lions or whoever else who have big time offensive lines, it's hard to find him on tape at times. And so, yeah, is it the greatest excuse why Jerry sent him off?
I'm not saying that. No,
but it's a valid one. If you're in the process of negotiating a contract and you want this guy to be a Cowboy for life.
And there's definitely things I don't like. I don't like that he went to the Packers. I don't like that him and Steven are up there talking about we need to stop the run. All true, but let's not make that the reason. He's not there because it's, to me, too much money for a non-quarterback, and he hasn't been impactful enough in the big games. Now, only 26, so those days could still be ahead of him.
Right.
He might turn out to be the greatest postseason player in the history of the NFL
see.
going forward with Green Bay, but he hasn't been.
I think what scares Cowboys fans is that Jerry probably sent them off for a petty reason. That there's maybe something behind the curtain that we just don't know, that Jerry's ego got in the way.
Perhaps.
I think if you're a Cowboys fan and you're trying to save face, or you're trying to say, all right, how can we resalvage this team and get to where we want to get to, it feels, and this is just me talking, that Jerry may have done this for a personal reason.
It could be. I mean, when you
and it's
think
not
about
it's not out of his real house that this is possible.
No, and I mean, he even admitted to that in the documentary, that there are times he does things he probably shouldn't do. The question I would have is, if you go back to the negotiation that he thought he had a deal in March.
Yeah. Jerry talked about that.
What were those terms? I would love to know what those terms were, because he said that at the time he offered Micah Parsons the most money for a non-quarterback. Is that true? If that is true, then why wasn't the deal done? Because they didn't want to talk to the agent. I don't like it. It's that part of it. There's a disconnect there that I would love the details to come out on.
And I wonder, part of it is, was he waiting on T.J. Watt to see what he was going to get? Was he waiting on other players?
Meaning Micah, and he wouldn't sign the deal until that happened.
100%. So I wonder if there was some chess play with that. But overall, Cowboys fans are pissed off. I was watching social media, and everybody's burning flags, throwing stuff, throwing their cowboy nail all over the place. It's crazy.
I do understand that side of it. You fall in love with a player. No one falls in love with players more than I did as a kid. Heartbroken when they leave. So I understand that. But I'm also trying to look at this from the other side of things, in a salary cap era that we're playing in a game that is more offensive than it's ever been. You need to outscore teams. If you're going to give up, I'm sorry, what was the Packer game again? If you give 48 points at home in a playoff game, you're not winning that game.
No.
You need to be the team that puts up 48 points to win. There's a lot more to it, to me, than just the guy's an old drunk, doesn't know what he's doing.
Sure.
And Micah Parsons should have gotten paid $200 million.
I tell you who I feel bad for, that defense.
It's going to be tough. Yeah.
I mean, this happened. I mean, we're a week away.
Well, but I also don't know that they were planning on having him next week anyway. But you're right.
But there's an expectation. I mean, Trayvon Diggs, Monday, when asked about the deal, he's like, man, this is nonsense. They're going to sign him. I'm not worried about it.
Because they always have. That's part of it.
That's part of it. Yep. But two, if you're a teammate and we're having conversations at lunch and you're telling me what's going on with you, and you say, hey, dog, we're good. We just got to figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm anticipating you're going to be where you need to be when it's time to go to work.
I think everybody thought that.
Right. And so we're talking about we're a week away from this. That's the equivalent of us I'm talking Steeler ball for a quick second, us losing James Harrison. Mm-hmm. Like, that's your guy. That's your battle horse.
Sure.
That's the guy who makes the impossible possible in crucial situations. So if you're bland, if you're overshown, if you're all those guys, you just lost your top dog. And think about what Brian Schottenheimer did when he got the nod to be the head coach. He felt like the team wasn't close enough from a chemistry standpoint. Like they weren't gelling enough. So what did he do? He took Micah Parsons' locker and he took that Prescott locker. He smashed them together. He said, you guys are our leaders right now. Yep. Lead us. You just lost one of your leaders before the start of the season. Yep. So you talking about an emotional leader. You talk about your guy who, from a production standpoint, a guy who you need to make plays. You just lost him a week before the start of the season. So I'm sitting back. If I'm Mozzie Smith and all these guys, I'm like, dog, like, who's leading us? Who's the guy standing up saying, let's go get who's that guy right now? I don't know if the Cowboys have it.
No, it's going to have to be defense by committee. And It hasn't been. But this will go back to my point that I said to you yesterday, and I think the day before that. They haven't been good enough with Micah.
And I agree with you.
So
that's why I'm not when it broke, it felt like, wow, this is big. But I remember watching a lot of games where he was out there, and he wasn't dominating the game to the point where
wasn't impactful.
Yeah, so I don't cringe at it, but I do say, like, the kid is 26 years old. He's 26 years old, going to Green Bay, and he's going to be playing with a defense that can really play. You know what I mean? With Rashawn Gary, McKinney, Jeff Hafley has done a great job. Like, this defense was fifth in the league last year. So, like, that's the missing piece.
And now you add him.
Now, that's that one stone in a Thanos glove, if you will. So, We'll see, man. I think Cowboys. I have empathy for Cowboy fans because they're just like, we just can't get right. Nothing
Well,
works.
they haven't gotten right in 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is anything new in terms of going into a season. I mean, they've had good. It's weird. They're like not as good, so don't misunderstand me. But when you look at them every year, for the most part, they're 500 or better. They've had some bad years for sure.
Yeah.
Last year was one of them. But, I mean, over the last 30 years, they've had a lot of good seasons. They just don't win playoff games, and that is very true of recent memory over the last 5-6 years, too, and he's been a big part of that.
I think there's an expectation for Dak Prescott to carry this team.
Well, Jerry, he called him out yesterday.
And I'm saying to myself, you're putting the weight of Cowboy Nation on this quarterback's shoulder who's coming off a hamstring. He's 32 years old.
He put his money where his mouth is because most of the money has gone to the quarterback and the wide receiver.
Right.
And so
But this is what Cowboy fans have to realize. This isn't a Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins situation. Like Joe is, I think they're more primed to carry that. They proved it. I mean, they scored with 30-something points a game last season, even though they still lost.
Yeah, but they still didn't even make the playoffs.
Right. But Dak isn't Joe. I think Dak's best years are behind him at this point.
Well, we better hope not because he's got a lot of time left and a lot of money coming to him. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. It's not easy. It's not easy. I get it. But that's, you got the 2 first-round draft picks. Oh, I mean, I won't poo-poo first-round draft picks, no doubt. But those aren't going to be high first-round picks. They're going to be picks in the late 20s.
Do you believe they're going to draft or get a guy who's going to have a significant impact right away?
Or do you think they're going to, with the 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years, like they like to point out last night, do you believe that they will package them for X? I don't know.
But think about the pick they're getting. It's going to be what, the 32nd?
That's what I said. Well, if they win the Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, the
Be high
26th
20s, low 30s
yeah,
probably.
You're not getting
That's
a
what
guy.
I said.
So
I know.
it's like, what do we...
I totally understand. Again, I always come back to it's not just Parsons for Clark and 2 picks. It's Parsons for Clark, 2 picks, and you just saved $50 million a year on the cap, or however they manipulate the money. But you're not paying him $200 million, which, I sit here and talk about the quarterbacks getting a fortune, and I don't think it's right. I don't think that the quarterback should get 22% of the salary cap or whatever number it is, 15%. Because if you ain't got a left tackle or
you don't have a defense,
you can't win.
Like people love, like one thing I thought Brady did really good was convert his bonus into he converted his salary money into bonuses or whatever, or he pretty much, in layman's terms, he pushed his money down the road so he could pretty much build up the defense. That they were able to get Dante Hightower, Chandler Jones, like they were able to pay those guys. And because of that, they were able to stack Lombardis. That's the end game. You're always trying to win a Super Bowl. And Brady, the best of all time, realized that. He goes, yeah, you can pay me a boatload of money. In his prime, he wasn't the highest paid quarterback.
Right.
So all he did was go to Kraft and say, hey, I'm going to be okay, but we got to build this defense. Can I go to Pittsburgh in December and win? Yes, but I can't do it without a defense. Can I go to Kansas City? Can I go to these places and win? You can't do that without a defense. And so all that money, I understand that. But if the end game is winning, as a quarterback who's in that position to make a lot of money, you got to be smart. Yeah, you can score 30 points, but if you can't stop anybody, it's worthless.
Yep, I know. And if you can't protect the quarterback, it's worthless. Joe Burrow almost got killed last year.
Yeah,
and I know.
But I give Cincy credit. They've always been trying to figure out that 5 up front.
Sure,
it just hasn't gone.
Just like the Giants have for the last 10 years. There's no doubt.
I don't know what they're doing on defense, but I have seen an attempt to get. I mean, they got Orlando Brown. It just hasn't worked out for him. He's just stiff. He can't move. But overall, man, I feel for Cowboy fans. It's never
interesting day.
It's never easy for you guys.
Very interesting day for sure. We'll take a break. I am sure that CeeLo is going to have a ton of Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones sound coming up. We will get to your calls as well. 888-808-1019 is the number. Willie and Jerry in for Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.